Hi, everybody. I'm Jen with Jen Vasquez Photography, and I just want to give you 5 tips to getting your wedding dress. So these are the 5 tips that I thought were helpful, and what I ended up, choosing to do when I went wedding dress shopping with my daughter, which was going to be 3 years ago in December. So first of all, picking a wedding dress is overwhelming. It is an important day, and you want to be wearing something that you absolutely love when you get married to the person that you absolutely love. And it's, obviously a serious decision, but hopefully these tips will help you when you go. Number one is to know your budget. When you get engaged, the first thing I recommend for all brides is to sit down with their fiance, and if your parents are going to be helping in the purchase in any of the budget, have them sit with you, or maybe do it with your fiance first and then have a conversation with your parents. But you want to make a budget, and part of that budget is going to be a wedding dress. Now, some reports say, and you can find anything on the internet, but most often I find you're typically going to spend 10 to 15% of your wedding budget on a dress. That is personal opinion. You can spend more or less. It's entirely up to you. Some people value flowers. Some people value photography. But you're going to spend more on the things that you value the most. And so you'll make your budget according to that. So know your budget before you go shopping. If you go into a store with an open mind and a mentally open budget, what can happen is you will end up going a little crazy, and you can fall in love with dresses that are all kinds of sizes. I mean, in all kinds of prices, from a lower price point to a higher price point. And it would be awful if you fell in love with a dress that's, $10,000 and the bulk of your wedding budget. So know what your budget is going into that process, and explain that to the person that you make the appointment with, so that they're very clear on what you're available or interested in spending. The second one is to try on several different silhouettes. I know when I went shopping with my daughter, I personally had always pictured her in a ball gown. And actually, she always pictured herself in a ball gown too. We found out after the process. But she ended up trying a number of different silhouettes just because, and she loved the mermaid fit on her body 100 times better. So my advice is to let the salesperson, who is truly the expert in that situation, they're gonna put you in something that you look good in because they want you to buy a dress from them. So they're the experts. Let them do their job. Let them look at your body and figure out what would look best on you. Know going into it if you want sleeveless or halter or whatever, but be open to trying different looks, because I've had many clients who go in thinking one thing, trying it on and hating it, and then having to look around at all kinds of other silhouettes to find one they like. The third tip is to not bring a billion people with you. This is an important decision, but everybody has opinions. And if you're inundated with a number of opinions, then your voice can kind of get drowned out. So I always recommend 1 or 2 people at the most go with you, so that you can go through this process without stressing or worrying about hurting people's feelings or loving a dress and having, people sit there and say, "Oh, that's not good." You do want feedback when you go shopping, but you need to be thoughtful about how many people you bring with you. If you decide to think about it for a little while, you can always bring everyone back for that experience of trying on the dress, but you might not want to bring more than a few people with you at a time if you want to be have less issues. Tip number 4 is to consider the ceremony location. I had a bride who wanted a beach wedding, and she was going to choose a really heavy material, long sleeve ball gown, which was not going to work very well obviously like walking down the beach to get married. And of course, she had figured that out all on her own. But you want to be thoughtful if you're getting married in winter or in summer. Those things matter in terms of what you're ultimately going to wear and be comfortable with on the day. And the last tip is to schedule a wedding dress appointment early in the day. When you schedule an appointment later in the day, they can get a little bit behind, or they can end up being filled by the time you go and call to make an appointment, and you already have that day in mind for you and your friends or whatever, and it's not a good thing. Plus, I imagine that anybody that's worked in clothing knows that by the end of the day or toward the end of the day, you can be really tired. You've been on your feet all day and you've been listening to everybody's comments or opinions. And earlier in the day, they'll probably be a whole lot more open and thoughtful and excited and helpful. And so I definitely recommend making an appointment for earlier in the day. I hope that these tips helped you, and I hope that you have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next Sunday when I do my next live. Have a great rest of your weekend. See you later.